Okay, so now we're going to drywall this little cubby area. It's just a use of space that was underneath the stairs. I've decided that I'm going to develop it as well. I'm just going to put some cabinets across here and cabinets across here and put a fridge and a microwave, kind of have a little snack area. So to begin drywalling, I like to take a pen and mark my studs. I'm going to start with my ceiling drywall first in almost all applications of drywall. The reason for that is if you put the wallboard on first, you're not going to have anything holding the edge of your ceiling board up, which vibrations in time will cause cracking to happen. So you want to start with drywalling your ceiling first, and then when you do your walls, push it up tight into the ceiling drywall, keeping that joint tight and strong forever. So what I'm going to do is mark these joists onto the wall so that when I'm doing my screwing, I know where to go. Now I'm going to measure for the ceiling board and set up to install it. So I've got 71 3/4. And I just need to get a width. 41 3/4 tight. So because the drywall is coming up the walls, I can be a little smaller with the drywall so that it's easier to get up there. So I'm going to go with 41 5/8. That's just 1/8 of more space to maneuver the piece of board up into the position. Okay, so there's several different ways to cut drywall. Now that I know that my finished piece for the ceiling over there is 71 3/4 by 41 5/8, I'm going to use 4x8 sheet of drywall and cut it up to the appropriate size. I'm going to start by measuring the length and cutting off, and then cutting down to the width that I need. So take with my knife or pencil, mark 71 3/4, mark 71 3/4. So one method is to just mark the two indicator lines. Use a straight edge. Set up on your two lines. Gently score across the paper face. I like to do it twice, this time keeping in the first cut. If you try to cut it too deep on the first time, you might get a little squiggly and not end up with the best cut. And one more time, freehand, just staying in that crack. Okay, so now that you've got it sufficiently scored, bring the drywall to a point that it could break across. Take your utility knife, carve right through it. Okay, so now we're left with our piece 71 3/4 long. Just got to mark for the width and cut it down too. Okay, so now I've got to measure my width for this sheet of drywall. As you remember, it was 41 5/8. I'm going to mark it in a few spots. Show you a different method for cutting it. 41 5/8. Okay, so when you're removing a thin strip of drywall off the edge, you can use your tape measure, pinch your tape against your knife, nice and firm. I got my thumb on there. Put your knife blade on your indicator point and hold this finger as a guide along the straight edge. So I've got it pinched on the indicator point and my finger on tight. I just have to maintain this position as I slide across, and I should have a nice straight line. Now you can see here that I have hit my indicator point, which means that I stayed on track while I was doing that. This method does take a little while to get used to, but it definitely saves some time if you can get used to it. Just gonna score it one more time. Okay, so now that I've got my piece of drywall cut to size, got my screw gun ready to go, got my drywall screws. They use a nice magnetic tip so you can wiggle it around and it stays on. I'm ready to lift it up. Use my indicator points just to get a few screws in before I finish screwing it all off. Looks good. So on joints, I like to do 5 screws, so 1 at each end, 1 in the center, and I'll add 1 here and here. And on joists that are in the field, I like to just put 4. Alright, so I've got sufficient amount of screws into this board. Now I'm going to be ready to start measuring my walls.